Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Mama Jamma. I'm Crystal. I know it's been a while, actually like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks since I posted. I was on vacation and then trying to settle back in with the kids. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about today, since last time I did talk about the birth of my son, my first son, and I know I did say that it was the birth was crazy. Um, my my pregnancy, I mean, I guess it was to be what's expected, but they don't tell you about any of that. So now I want to talk about the birth of my son. And this was not an ordinary circumstance at all. I'm not saying that you guys, whoever's, ladies watching that are pregnant, or men that are watching that their girlfriends or wives or whoever is pregnant, that this is going to happen to them. I'm not saying that. This is an exceptional circumstance. My delivery with my son was unexpected to happen like this. I mean, we expected it to happen, but not like this. So after all the craziness of the pregnancy, not knowing, I thought I was going to have just a typical birth. I really wanted to have a vaginal delivery. That was my plan, but you can't plan for your delivery. I mean, it's almost impossible to have a birth plan because the baby's going to come whenever the baby wants to come, how the baby wants to come. That's just what's going to happen. So with mine, I was really busy on Christmas Eve. Very, very busy. I was cooking with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. I was moving around a lot and squatting. And if you know, when you're that big, I was 4 days past my due date, what the doctor gave me. So you know that when you're that big, squatting, it hurts. Bending over, you kind of feel like little pains. And then you're out of breath because you're moving around in the kitchen, you're doing this, doing that, and it's already hot, and you got you're a huge incubator, so you're sweating even though it's not really hot because you got all this steam and you're moving around. But anyways, I expected him, my water to break, my son, to come that day, but it didn't end up happening. So after New Year's Eve, I don't know why I keep saying New Year's Eve, crazy. Christmas Eve, we opened all of our gifts, as that's what we do on my husband's side of the family, as we open gifts on New Year's Eve. See, again, New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve. Maybe I got party on the mind. I don't know. But I go to bed Christmas Eve, and normal sleeping. I was able to sleep really well. I was very, very tired. And so what I did was I got up at 1:30 in the morning, Christmas morning, to go to the bathroom. And I came back to lay down in bed. And when I laid down on my back, and when I went to tuck my feet under the covers, I felt this little tear. And it was not what you expected. I expected like okay, so when you take 2 pieces of toilet paper and you barely rip them apart and you're just watching them like right in the middle rip apart and you can feel it? That's exactly what it felt like. And I was like, oh my goodness, is this it? So I get up and I start feeling water trickling down there. I was very, very wet in the vaginal region. And I knew it wasn't discharge because it was like water wet. So I knew my water broke. So I wake up my husband. I'm like, hey, it's finally time. Let's look at my water broke. And he's like, are you sure? And I said, yes. And he's laying there just absolutely tired, and 1:30 in the morning. And he just rolls over and looks at me and says, Merry Christmas. I've been waiting for it. 4 days late. But I did tell the doctor, I said, nope, this is going to be a Christmas baby. Nope, I know he's going to be born on Christmas. I know he's going to be born on Christmas. And they kept trying to tell me, the 22nd, or the 22nd, no, the 21st, 22nd. I can't remember what day they were telling me in the beginning. But no, I felt Christmas baby. I knew it right away. And so I called the on-call doctor, and they said, no, come in right away. So I go in, and they have you lay down, and they test the little, they put something up inside to test, to get a sample of what they say would be amniotic fluid. So then they send it to the lab, comes back relatively fast because, super early in the morning. We got there at 2. And sure enough, they said, oh yeah, your water broke. Even the nurse said, I have no doubt about it because I can tell right away with how much is trickling out, but we have to send it anyways. So then they get me roomed, and we wait and wait. The nurse said, you know what, let's wait for your contractions to start. They'll start any minute now. So an hour goes by, and they have me on the ball, the rocking chair. They have me like leaning over my bed, and nothing is starting. I'm feeling nothing. I'm like, wow, labor is awesome. I feel nothing. This is great. And 2 hours goes by, and nothing started. I felt absolutely nothing. I'm like, wow, I feel great. I feel like I'm like, this is what labor is awesome. I can go, go shopping right now. I could, eat a burger right now. This feels great. I don't know what everybody's complaining about, because I was waiting to feel the pain. Then all of a sudden, I thought I felt something, but I'm like, no, it's probably just a muscle spasm. So the nurse comes in, and she says, well, your water broke, and we can't leave the baby in too long after your water breaks, because you have a chance of infection. You're all open up inside. So they started me on Pitocin. And in the beginning, when I was, like I said, no birth plan goes accordingly. I really didn't want Pitocin, but I knew it was the best to get my son out, as soon as possible. So here we are, what is it, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Mother-in-law was there, and my husband called my mom, let her know everything was happening. And this is the first grandchild on my side. So my parents are so excited because it's their first grandbaby that they're going to have. And it's a boy, because I have 2 sisters, and it's myself. We don't have any boys in the family. So my dad is ecstatic. So they start me on the Pitocin, and within a half an hour, I'm starting to feel them. And they're coming on like really slow, like super easy, being able to breathe through them. Nothing's, no problem. Just feels like a period cramp. I'm like, oh, I could do this all day. I'm used to period. I've had one since I was 11 years old, and here I am, 24, having my first kid. So then they start, let's see, was it 11? No, by 11 o'clock, the contractions started to get really strong. I mean, they were like full force, laying on my side, and even bent over the bed a couple times, and you just feel it just like tighten from the back, literally the middle of the back, like the bottom, and it just wraps around, and it feels like somebody just like taking their hands and like squeezing, and it was crazy. It was painful, very, very painful. Lots and lots of breathing, closing your eyes, and I mean, I didn't do Lamaze or anything. I didn't really see the point, and I've been told by a lot of people that when you do Lamaze, you kind of forget all about it when the baby's there, because you're like, this is painful, I don't know how you can breathe through it, but I was breathing through it. My older sister, she was like, man, you make it look like it's a breeze. I'm like, well, it's definitely not. It hurts really bad, but yelling isn't going to do anything for me. So by 3 o'clock, I know that the pain, I had better, I better get an epidural like 5 hours ago. But they checked me at 3 and said I had barely dilated to 4 centimeters, and I was in so much pain. The pain was really like it made me want to cry really bad. And I knew that if it got any worse, I was going to lose it. And I didn't want my husband to see me like frantic. And so I knew I was going to lose it. The doctor wanted to insert kind of like it's like a jelly wand, I guess, up into the cervix around the placenta to feel the strength of my contractions, because they were pretty strong. But she wanted to get it in there before I got the epidural. But it was just excruciating pain. I was doing everything possible. I was like gritting my teeth, like, oh man, it was horrible pain. It felt like somebody jabbed a screwdriver up there and was like trying to poke around. It was awful. So they gave that a rest. They let me get the epidural. And of course, when I get the epidural, they warned me about this, that the contractions could stop. And they did. They completely stopped. And there I was at like, then I had advanced to 4.5 centimeters. And I was like, great. This is just great. Well, then, trying to think back, this was like 3.5 years ago when I had my first son. So then I start, the nurse, I start asking the nurse, is it normal? Because I was just sitting there, you can't walk around, you can't move anything, because the epidural is the stuff they give you to lose sensation from the waist down. And so they give me, I asked her, is it normal to see red spots? Because I'm feeling very lightheaded. I feel kind of faint and seeing black and red spots. And so she looks down at my blood pressure and she's like, oh shoot, it is super, super low. My goodness. And my O2 stat was going like way down. So she had to give me something for that. And then of course, whatever they gave me, and she said, well, that happens in like 20% of patients. I'm like, great, 20%. I'm like a statistic now. Then after she gives me whatever, I can't remember what she gave me. She gave me Benadryl afterwards because I was itching so bad. Like I felt like, oh, I could just scratch and scratch and scratch, and it was just so satisfying. But anyways, she gave me Benadryl to counteract it. Then I got tired and conked out, and I don't know how long I conked out. But then finally, I mean, there was nothing happening, absolutely nothing. And I was at my wit's end. I wanted to have my baby. I wanted to be out of the hospital. I wanted to be done. I was sick and tired of this. So then, what time was it by the next day? 24, it was 11 o'clock in the morning the next day. So I had been there already for a full 34 hours. And the epidural was starting to wear off. I could feel a little bit more pain here and there. And they checked me. They're like, wow, you're 9.5 centimeters. I'm like, sweet. So they have my legs up. And they're like, okay, let's have you push. And so I pushed twice. And of course, the 2 times I pushed, I freaking farted. And here my husband is on the side, like smirking, gonna laugh. And I'm like, dude, seriously, if you freaking laugh, I am going to punch you in the face. I swear. I looked at him with a dirty look. And so did the nurse that was holding my other leg up. And it was just funny. But she said when I pushed the first time, they could feel the cervix like open to full 10. So she said, oh yeah, his head's right there, and poor little guy's really, really coned. I'm like, great, my baby's gonna look like a little gnome. So they have me push again, and this is really, really hard. And that time I hear all these bells going off. A whole bunch of like sensors going off. And so in that they told me nope, we can't do it. My son's heart rate just plummeted, his everything just plummeted, all of his stats plummeted. So they said no, you're going to be a C-section. I'm like, great. Oh, I did not want to be a C-section. I wanted to do a vaginal birth, because to me that's the whole pregnancy journey, is at the end giving birth. Vaginally, I wanted to hold my son right away. I did not want to be cut. That was my thing. I was like, no, maybe we should just wait a little bit. And they told me, look, if you wait a little bit, you have a chance of your son dying. So we need to get him out now. He's already been in there 34 hours after your water broke. So I was really thinking about it, and I just felt like a failure as a mom at that point. Like, I'm like, oh, I can't even have this baby the way I'm supposed to. I really, really want to. Well, I agreed to the C-section. And when they get me in there, they have me sitting down. It was supposed to be, a routine C-section. My husband's getting ready in his stuff to be in there in the operating room with me. Well, I'm sitting on the table. They have me sitting up because already the epidural's wearing off, and I can already feel my legs. So it almost happened the moment they took it out when I was leaving the room. The nurse, I can't remember if the anesthesiologist or the nurse took it out, or it might have still been in there. I can't remember. It all happened, so much was going on. Then all of a sudden, they put the spinal block in so that you can't feel anything from, I believe it's the chest down, so you can't feel anything, which is kind of an alarming thought. But anyways, they give it to me, and they had me laying down on the table, and my doctor, she was asking me, can you feel this? I'm like, yes, I can feel that. And she said, what part of you can you not feel? I said, well, I can't feel my right leg, but I can feel all of my left leg, plus my toes. I can wiggle them, and sure enough, there I was wiggling them for her, and I shouldn't be able to do that. You should not be able to wiggle your toes or move your legs, and I was able to move my left leg. I was able to pick it up and everything, so you're not supposed to be able to do that. And I said, and there's probably about this double the size of a 50-cent piece that I can't feel on my belly. And she was poking it, little by little with a little needle, and she's like, tell me where you can't feel. And it was a little piece like this next to the belly button, but I could feel everything else. I could feel my chest. And she was like, nope, unfortunately, we're going to have to put you under. And I said, are you serious? And she said, yeah, the spinal block doesn't work on 15% of the patients. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? First, I get, with the epidural, I get the low blood pressure that happens on 20% of the patients. Then the spinal block doesn't work on me, but they said more than likely the reason it didn't work is because of the Pitocin that I had. Usually they don't work very well together. So then they go to put me under, and at this point my husband can't come in after anymore, because now it becomes a completely sterile environment and becomes a surgical environment. Okay, so anyways, they put me under, and of course I have no idea what's going on. My husband said he was watching, and he said, oh my gosh, it was gruesome. They had one guy, a nurse, I'm guessing, well, of course, a nurse, up front, up by my rib cage, just pushing and pushing and pushing my son down. And he said it looked so painful. And the doctor was just trying to pull my son out, just pulling him out. And then they finally get him out. They said probably like all that for about 15 minutes, like really trying to push him out. They said he was really way up in my ribs. They were trying to pull him out. And so they finally get him out. He's doing good. My husband follows our son over to the nursery, and while he's going over to the nursery, here come like 3 or 4 nurses with tons of stuff to pack me, just running down the hall saying that it's for me, in my operating room. I think it was like operating room 3, and they were yelling that it was for operating room 3. So here my husband is trying to have a, excited that his first son, that our first son is being born. And then this happens. So I started bleeding out, again, because of the Pitocin. I was bleeding out, so they had to pack me so much, just constantly pack me, and trying to get the bleeding to stop. Finally, when they get the bleeding to stop, they sew me, completely sew you back up, and they go to wake me up, and I'm not waking up, and I'm not waking up, and they're trying to wake me up for like 10 to 15 minutes, just like not waking up, I'm not responding to anything. They give me the medication to counteract the anesthesia, and nothing. Then they're starting to panic on their part because I'm not waking up. They took the trach out and trying to get me to breathe on my own. I'm finally breathing a little bit, and I can hear them, but I can't open my eyes. I can't like open my eyes. I can't talk. I can hear them. I can't move anything. I'm like paralyzed. Have you ever had a dream when you're sleeping and you dream that you're paralyzed, that you can't open your eyes, you can't talk, but you can hear, you can't move your body, you want to sit up, you want to move, but you can't move? That's exactly what it was like, but it was real life. And I wake up to somebody just like pounding on my stomach. Oh gosh, it was terrible. I didn't have the spinal block, so I could feel everything. It was immense pain. I wanted to scream so bad, and I couldn't. I wanted to wake up and be like, what the heck are you doing to me? This hurts so bad. Come on, stop. But I couldn't. I couldn't say anything. Then I could hear the anesthesiologist patting my face, moving my arms, and nothing. I was just like a limp noodle. Then all of a sudden my body goes into convulsions. And I can't stop them. My body is shaking. And by this point, I'm like, oh, dear Lord, I really do not want to die right now. I want to see my son. Haven't even seen my son, my first kid. Please don't tell me I'm going to die before I see our son. So they're getting nervous at this point, and it took me a little bit over 15 minutes to come out. And finally, after all that, they take me to recovery, which I'm there for about an hour and a half recovering, and they give me medication, and finally something for the pain. And I was so scared. Oh gosh, I was scared when I woke up. I finally saw my husband, and my husband's like, oh my gosh, you're alive. I'm like, well, that doesn't help, just coming up to me and saying, oh my gosh, you're alive, you didn't die, hallelujah. So then they finally wheel me into my room, and I get to see our little baby boy. Well, he wasn't little, he was 10 pounds, 2 ounces. Enormous. And I gained 30 pounds with him. I walked out of the hospital losing 20 pounds. And it was insane. He was so big. He fit in 3-month-old clothes. He was such a big boy, the biggest baby in the nursery, and the only boy born that night. He was just meant to have the girls, fondling after him. But I found out from the doctor, I was her first case ever to have this problem. And I have a genetic, what is it called? A genetic deficiency to it. And it's pseudocholinesterase deficiency. And it only affects about 5 to 10% of the population. So great, I'm like literally a walking statistic. So they said she's been a doctor for, I think she says she's been doing that 10, 15 years, and she's never come across it before. And she's been doing routine C-sections for a very, very long time since she started. So she said I was her very first case that it happened to. So she said she was scared when it happened. And everybody else didn't know what was going on because I had no idea that I had it. My mom knew it ran in the family, but she didn't know that I was going to go under at the same time. You know, I had never heard, I think I had heard my mom talk about it, but I never thought that it was genetic. So I'm like, oh, wait, I have it. Or I could have it, but no. I get my aunt on my mom's side. Um, my grandpa's sister has it, and my grandpa has it. And apparently I have it. I inherited the gene of the deficiency. So I was really terrified. After that, my husband comes in and he was saying, you know, just one. We could just have one. One's fine. You know, I'll be happy with one. I don't really want you to die. But yeah, it was a crazy, crazy experience. My delivery. And like I said, not every delivery is going to be the same. This one was just an exception that was, of course, a roller coaster. And to follow that, the pregnancy with my second son was a whirlwind of a roller coaster as well. I'll make a different video on that. That's too much to go into that. But yeah, now I just have to let everybody know whenever I go and have surgery done, if I ever have to have surgery done about my deficiency, because it could pose a problem. And it was eye-opening, and I think if I would have known that was going to happen, I may have been really, really scared to have a baby. I knew I was already frightened for delivery because I don't like, I mean, nobody likes pain unless you're really a masochist, but I'm not, so I didn't really like pain. I was scared for the pain aspect of it, but other than that, it didn't deter me from having another baby because I really wanted one so bad. And after you hear about my second pregnancy, you're going to be surprised that I want a third baby. Like, you're going to be like, girlfriend, you cray-cray. But yeah, it was something else. But and then, you know, afterwards, when you're in your room and you have your baby, you forget all about everything. You forget about everything. You forget about the pain. You forget, yeah, you forget all about all of it until you get home, and then it hurts again. But then I will do another video on, you know, what to expect when you get home from the hospital with the baby and yourself after a C-section, because that's really all I can say about is the C-section part of it. I wish I would have had a vaginal delivery so I could have told you about that, but I can't. I had a complicated delivery. Not all women will have one. Some of them will have pretty routine deliveries, but if you don't, and I think it's better to plan for the unexpected. Plan for the worst and go for that, because if you end up having the worst, then you're ready for it. That's what I think is the best thing to plan for, is plan for the worst, and if the worst ends up happening, then you're ready. If not, then you were ready for something that was pretty bad, but it didn't go bad. But anyways, yeah, that is my story with my first son. And yeah, if you want to see more, not all of them are going to be about talking. I just didn't really have anything ready for you guys to do anything. This time I do have a couple things coming that I'm going to be doing on. But if you want to hear more, please subscribe and leave comments down in the comment section. Thanks.